Alright, in this section we're going to talk about different prisms. The first two are named by their bases, and what's interesting about this one is this could be, you could actually use any opposite face for your bases, but I think I'm going to kind of sketch, let's write the word base on the top and bottom here. This is the base and this one's the base, and sometimes they'll shade it to help you know what the bases are. On example B, this is a triangular prism. This has to be your base because you name it by the base, and this, since it's called a triangular prism, this would be your base, and this one's your base. Okay, when they talk about the lateral edge, and an edge that's lateral is around the rectangles that are making up the lateral faces. So let's label that. That's called a lateral edge. Like on this one, a lateral edge would be any of these lines going straight up and down. So let's label this one a lateral edge. Lateral just means the side. And it will help you because later on when you're doing the lateral area, you will use that edge for your height. That's how tall your prism is. The lateral faces are always rectangles. You will need to remember that sometimes that when you look at a prism, it's not always sitting on its base, especially when they draw them two-dimensionally. So just be careful when you do the lateral area. Let's talk about that. The lateral area is the sum of the areas of the lateral faces. Now remember, when you're writing definitions, if you need to pause or slow down this recording, you can. Just make sure you get all the definitions written. Alright, in the lateral area formula, the P means the perimeter of your base, and your H means the height, and the height is always one of your lateral edges. Just remember, like on this one, this would be the height. I think I'm going to go ahead and label that. This lateral edge right here is your height. Let me move that down. I'm going to put a big star by that because it's kind of an important idea here. Is the height on this one, your height is a vertical distance, but on this one, it's not really, they're not asking for the height of the triangle, they're asking for the height of the prism. Just think of it like if you were laying down, from your head to your feet is still a height even if you're laying sideways. So just remember it that way. The total surface area is the sum of the lateral area and the bases. So if you look at the formula, they're using the lateral area, which is the perimeter times the height, plus 2b. And this capital B always means the area of the base. Whatever base shape is on your prism, you're going to find that area, but you are going to double it. You're going to double that area and then add it to it. Alright, volume is the amount of space enclosed in a three-dimensional figure. And just remember, it's always going to be a cubic unit. Let's write that on here. You know how when you put centimeters cubed or inches cubed, it's always a cubic unit because it's talking about what fills up something. And I'll show you an example of that in just a minute. Alright, this capital B, remember, is the area of the base. And this H right here in the formula will always mean your height of your prism. And it will be your lateral edge when you're looking at a picture. Okay, let's try some examples. The first one, for example 2, name the prism below and then find its lateral area, total area, and volume. Okay, we're going to use all three of the formulas to do this one. In this rectangular prism, let's go ahead and write that on here, that's the name of it. And remember, the lateral area, let's put that up here, the lateral area is the perimeter of the base times the height. Now on this one, let's kind of shade, I'm going to do the bottom and the top are going to be our bases. So just remember, this is the base right here. And the perimeter of this base is going to be 2 lengths and 2 widths, which means you're going to figure out 8 times 8 and 6 times 6, and you're going to add those. Let's go ahead and do that. The perimeter would be 2 8s and 2 6s. It's just 2 lengths plus 2 widths. So your perimeter on this one would be 28. Now to get the height, this right here, I'm going to label it my H. This is how tall it is from base to base. So the perimeter times the height, your lateral area would be 28 times 2, which is 56. I'm going to go ahead and write 56 square units because area is always measured in square units. Let's put that on here. 56 square units. That's your lateral area. When you want to do the total area, you're going to use, let's write the formula for total area. I'll use TA for total area. It's going to be your lateral area plus 2 base areas. So your lateral area, remember, was 56. Now to get the area of just one of your bases, you're going to multiply length times width. So 8 times 6 is 48. So that's 2 times 48. You can put this in the calculator and let the calculator do this for you. But this is going to end up being 152 square units. That's the total area. Okay, let's do volume. Your volume is your base area times your height. Now the capital letter B means an area of your base. And if you remember, our base area right here was our length times our width of our base. So when we did that, we got 48. This time we're going to multiply by the height. The height is 2. And 48 times 2 is 96. Now, volume is measured in cubic units. So when you do the volume, I'm going to write the word cubic units. And that would just mean, like for instance, if these were centimeters, think of, I'm going to draw a little cube. Think of 96 cubes would fill up this shape. If you were to take a cube and put it down in the corner right here, that kind of helps you understand volume. Volume is how much you'll fill it all up if you were going to fill up this shape. Okay, let's try another one. On this one, they, in the instructions here, tell you that each edge is 5. I think I'll go ahead and label the edges here. Now on this one, for the perimeter of, if it's a cube and you're trying to find the perimeter, when you're doing the lateral area, the perimeter times the height, it is just going to be, think of a square that we'll call this right here the base. If your base is 5 on each side, the perimeter is 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, or 5 times 4, so that would be 20. And your height is 5. And 20 times 5 is 100. Oh, I forgot to name, did we name this one? This is a cube. So So your lateral area would be 100. And this one's labeled with centimeters right here. So since it's centimeters, you can write it as square centimeters. Move this up. That's the lateral. Remember, lateral just means around the edges. When on another page of notes, when we actually drew a net, remember when we drew the net and we made 4, let me just sketch it over here. If I were to draw 4 squares and then 2, I'm going to shade them, bases, your lateral area, this 100 is talking about the area of the lateral faces that go around. So 100 square centimeters would be the total area of all 4 of those squares that are wrapped around the 2 bases. Okay. Your total area is always going to be whatever your lateral area was plus 2 base areas. Well, my lateral area was 100. The base area here, if you're just finding the area of one of the bases, would be length times width, or side squared. That'd be 25. So 100 plus 2 times 25 is 150. So your total area is 150 square centimeters. The volume is going to be your base area times your height, and our base area is 25 and our height is 5, and 25 times 5 is 125. So 125. Now remember, volume is cubic units, so if you notice for the 2 area answers, I put as little 2 for the exponent. On this one, because it's volume, you need to write a cubic unit, so your exponent is a 3. That's the volume of that cube. Alright, let's go to the next page. Example 4. This time we're going to do this one is called a triangular prism. And remember, sometimes when they draw triangular prisms, they do draw it so that the bases are in the front and back and not on the bottom. So on this one, it's a triangular prism. And let's shade, I'm going to shade the triangles. The 2 triangles are your bases. So on this one, your height here of your prism is 4. Oops, wait, one right height. This right here is your height. Let's do the lateral area. Okay, for this one, it's going to be a little bit trickier, especially when we get to total area, because they didn't give us the height of the triangle, but I'll show you how to figure that out in just a minute. The lateral area, remember, is the perimeter times the height. The perimeter of this one would be when you take the 12 and the 2 8s and you just add them all together. Perimeter is always the distance around something. So 12 plus 8 plus 8 is 28. So your 28 would be your perimeter. And then your height, remember, this is kind of tricky, but your height is how tall it is from base to base. Think of your feet to your head. From the base of this triangle to the base of this one is the height of the prism. So in this case, the perimeter would be 28 and the height is 4. So on this one, 112. I think I'm going to give this a little unit here. I'm going to call them centimeters, just to make this easier. So it's 112 square centimeters for your lateral. And that is just the 3 rectangles that are going around these 2 bases. To get the total area, you're going to use the lateral area and 2 base areas. It's the sum of all the faces. So if 112 is your lateral area, now we have to add 2 base areas. And this is kind of where it's a little bit tricky here, because to find the area of this base, you have to find the area of the triangle. So your base area in this case would be 1/2 BH. That's the formula for an area of a triangle. I think I'm going to sketch this triangle over here to kind of help you understand what we're going to have to do. This height on this triangle is something we're going to have to figure out. If these two sides are 8s, then an altitude drawn on an isosceles triangle like this would divide this side down here into a 6 right here. So you are going to have to use the Pythagorean theorem to figure out your height. Let me grab my calculator and we'll do that. Okay, I think you can see that. Alright, the 8 would be the hypotenuse, so you are going to square 8 and subtract 6 squared, because you're doing, you're trying to find the leg. And then the square root of 28 is going to be your height. So this is about, let's use 5.3. So our height on this one is about 5.3. So it's going to be 1/2. Our base of the triangle is 12, and 5.3 is our height. Let me punch that in for a minute and see what I get. It's going to be 1/2 times 12 times 5.3. So that's about 31.8. Now there's two of those. 31.8 is our just one triangle. And remember, when you're doing the area of a prism, you want to do both the bases. So two of those added with 112 is, it's approximately 175.6. And again, I'm going to use centimeters, so we'll just call that square units. That's your total area. To get your volume, you always do the base area times the height. So we're going to use that 31.8 again, and remember the height is 4. So 31.8 times 4 is about 127.2. And volume is in a cubic unit, so make sure you do centimeters cubed on that one. Okay, that was a little bit harder to do. You might want to back up and listen to that again, just so you'll remember how to do that, or come see me if you have any further questions. Alright, we have 2 more to do. This one, by using the word regular prism, we are going to have to figure out the area of this base. If you look at this shape, it's a hexagon, so that means this is a hexagonal prism. Okay, let's start with lateral area. The lateral area is the perimeter times the height. Now, because it's a regular prism and they've only labeled one side as 5, that means they're all 5. And so to find the perimeter on this one, your perimeter would just be 5 times 6, because there's 6 sides. Now remember, the height is from base to base, so your height is 12. So this would be 30 times 12, which is 360. That would be the area of all the rectangles that are the lateral faces of this hexagonal prism. So that's 360. Let's use centimeters again. That would be square centimeters. To do the total area, you're going to get the lateral area, our 360, and add 2 base areas. Now, just like on the last one, to find the area of that triangle, we had to do a little extra work. We're going to have to do that on this one too. I think I can sketch it right here. I'll just draw it on here. Let's remember, on a regular hexagon, that the triangle that you can form with the apothem is going to be a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So if the short edge of this 30, 60, 90 triangle is 2.5. I don't know if you can see that, but since all the way across this edge is 5, halfway would be 2.5. So 2.5 times the square root of 3, since this is a 30, 60, 90, is the longer leg. Now the reason I did that is because the area formula for a regular polygon, remember, is 1/2 the perimeter times the apothem. So this capital B right here, let me move this over. The capital B that we're going to have to use to find this base area is this 1/2 PA. I think I'll write that on here. We're figuring out our base area right here. So we're going to do 1/2, remember the perimeter was 30, times the apothem, 2.5 times the square root of 3. I think I'm going to leave this answer in radical form. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I'll add it. Let's go ahead and let's figure out what this is as a decimal. I think I'll do that. Let me do that. 1/2 times 30 times 2.5 times the square root of 3. It's approximately 64.9, so I think I'll go ahead and use 65. It's about 65, so 65 square centimeters is your base area, but remember there's 2 hexagons, so you're going to do 2 of those. So let's go ahead and multiply 65 times 2, and that's our 2 base areas, and add that with 360. So 490 approximately square centimeters would be your total area. Okay. For the volume, since we've already worked out our base area, remember the volume is the base area times the height, and this time your base area was about 65, so let's just use that. And the height, again, remember, is from base to base. Let's go ahead and label that. So your height is 12, and 65 times 12 is 780. So 780 cubic centimeters would be your volume. Alright, let's move on to the last example. This one, if you look at the shapes, the 2 shapes that are opposite each other that are connected by these lateral edges are trapezoids. So this is called a trapezoidal prism. Kind of a crazy word. Alright, let's start with the lateral area. Your perimeter on this one, now make sure you understand the perimeter is just around the edges, so you don't use this 4. You're just going to add 12, 5, 6, and 5. Let's write that down. Your perimeter would be adding the 6, the 5, the 12, and the other 5. You're just adding all the edges of your base. So your perimeter here is 28. Now the height of the prism, let's label it, is going to be the 10, because the 10 is the edge that connects. If you look at all these vertical lines, these lengths are all 10 because they connect the 2 bases, the 2 trapezoids. So on this one you're going to use 28 for your perimeter and 10 for your height. So 280 would be your lateral area. I think I like using centimeters. Let's just keep doing that. So it's square centimeters. Alright, your total area is going to be whatever your lateral area is with your 2 bases. So your lateral area in this case, remember, was 280. And we're going to add 2 base areas. Now this time the base area is a trapezoid. And if you look at your formula chart, this is the formula for a trapezoid. It's 1/2 base 1 plus base 2. You add those and then multiply by the height. And this is your formula for your trapezoid. Let's go ahead and plug in the numbers. It's 1/2. Your bases are always your parallel lines, so 6 and 12. And this time we'll use the 4 because the height of this trapezoid is 4. You can type it in the calculator just like this, and this will give you an area. Let's do that real quick. Make sure. You know what? I'm going to show you. I'm going to type it in so you can see it. It's 1/2 6 plus 12. See how I can use the parentheses on the calculator, and I don't know if you can see it. You can type it in exactly like the formula is on your paper. So there you go. The base area is 36. Now remember, there's two of them. There's two trapezoids. So over here in your formula you have your lateral area, and then you add your two base areas. And if you punch this in, you're going to get 280 plus 72, which is 352. That would be your total area, square centimeters. Alright, your volume is your base area times your height. We've already gotten the base area, that's 36. Our height, this H means the height of the prism, not the height of the trapezoid, so be careful. I think I'll write that over here. This is the height of the prism, and this right here is the height of the trapezoid. So be careful what number. This H always means for volume the height of the prism, so make sure you use the 10. And 36 times 10 is 360. And again, because it's volume, make sure you put a cubic unit on it. Okay, it's time to do some on your own. Let me know if